Hello and welcome to the Plympton Podcast. I'm Andrew Hill. Coming up in this edition, we hear what went wrong with the arrangements to open Harewood House for a Christmas music concert. We learn about some planned European travels an Ivybridge author and his friend have. We get an update on the situation with the bridge at Cot Hill. We hear details of a new policy to deal with unauthorised traveller encampments. We find out why the Central Library in Plymouth opened on Christmas Day. And we discover the location of another new coffee shop proposed for Plympton. But firstly, Holocaust Memorial Day took place on Sunday the 27th of January, and there was a special service held on Plymouth Hoe that day. Deputy Lord Mayor Councillor Chris Maven spoke about it during a recent meeting of Plymouth City Council.
I'd like to thank everyone who supported this year's Holocaust Memorial Day event, which took place in the Peace Garden on Plymouth Hoe. We had around 200 attendees, one of the biggest crowds we've ever had, and several inspirational speakers from a wide range of faiths and communities. In particular, our thanks to Jonathan Marshall and the Plymouth Centre for Faiths and Cultural Diversity for organising the event, along with Chris Forster and the team at Transforming Plymouth Together and the Plymouth Council of Faiths on behalf of Plymouth City Council. Thanks to all our speakers, Anna Kelly, who spoke on behalf of the local Jewish community, Alan Butler, co-director of Pride in Plymouth, Councillor Mary Aspinall, who spoke on behalf of Plymouth Area Disability Action Network, Tony Gorniak, who is a Romani gypsy and spoke about his grandmother's experiences, the Mayflower 400 Plymouth Young City Laureate Olivia Templeton, Father Richard Silk, Chair of Plymouth Council of Faiths, the Reverend O.C. Ntvaka, who survived the Rwanda genocide, in which he lost several members of his family, and Kesia Bonage and Molly Disney from Heel School, who spoke about a unique school project about the Holocaust that they've been involved with. This year at the Peace Garden, we will also recognise the Day of Remembrance of the victims of the Rwanda genocide.
Devon author Tony Ray and his friend Mark Walker are planning to visit 25 of the 27 other EU countries on the eve of Brexit next month. They came in to talk about their planned trip, called the Great Brexit Railway Adventure, on Charlotte Willis's Tea Time Treats programme on Hospital Radio.
So why did you come up with the idea of doing this Great Brexit Railway journey?
We were looking at doing a journey, and we decided that we'd look at the Dakar or Plymouth to Dakar rally, which is basically you buy a cheap car, run it down to Dakar or the Gambia at, I can't remember the capital, Banjul, and sell it, all for charity. And then we realised that we were probably a bit too old and a bit too far away from hospitals to carry that one out, and the Foreign Office don't recommend travel through certain countries, so it's probably a good idea that we didn't. And then suddenly this idea of Interrail came around, because I've done 2 Interrails, one in 73 and one in 75, I think, and now they do them for old people like us.
I'd never done Interrail before, so it was a great opportunity for me. I'm not sure we're too old for the Plymouth to Banjul. We might do that next year, you never know. But yeah, that's broadly it. We just felt we were at a stage in our lives when we wanted, we both had careers, and we just wanted to do something a bit exciting and challenging. So we kind of talked ourselves out of doing the rally through the desert, and this came up as an alternative. And we don't think anybody's done this before, whereas Plymouth to Banjul, it's been done.
Cot Hill Bridge is still closed for outbound vehicles over 7.5 tonnes. Ward Councillor Ian Darcy asked for an update about its repair during the recent meeting of the full Plymouth City Council.
Cot Hill Bridge continues to impact negatively on residents in my ward, but particularly residents in Plympton, in respect of the bridge infrastructure defects. I wonder if you could appraise us of an update in respect of that ongoing infrastructure defect. If not today, would you be able to advise how quickly you could do that, please?
I can do it today, Councillor Darcy. We've been talking to Network Rail. They've given us an approximate date of somewhere in the order of 21-22 in order to be able to do the bridge. But we might be able to bring it further forward, because actually they are going to maintain and do the maintenance on the bridge for us. because they have to do track closure and all sorts of things like that. And in the meantime, we're making sure that we're having a more of a semi-permanent fix on the traffic lights that come out onto Plymouth Road.
Through you, Lord Mayor, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Councillor Stevens was talking. Did you say October? Would you mind just repeating the date?
October.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
At the moment, their planned maintenance schedule for that part of the line when they can do the bridge, I think was going to be 21-22, yeah, 2020, 21-22. But if we can get it done sooner, if they can bring that work forward, because apparently they do have lapses when they have maintenance gaps, and if we get all the work done up as to what we need to get done, they can do it sooner, perhaps. But at the moment, it's 21-22. But we are going to put in a more semi-permanent arrangement with the traffic lights on Plymouth Road.
Thank you. When will you be able to provide us an update in respect of the intermediary plans to take us up to 21-22?
That's already in the pipeline, because we're going to put better traffic lights at the end of Cot Hill so it comes onto Plymouth Road, because at the moment they are temporary traffic lights and we need to make it more permanent. And we're also asking the DFT for permission so that we can use that stretch of road of Lincoln Lane, so it'll just be for heavy goods vehicles and not for private cars who are currently using it, even though it clearly states heavy good vehicles only.
The subject of unauthorised traveller encampments is a matter which often impacts upon Plympton. Portfolio holder Councillor Chris Pemberthy recently announced a new policy aimed at tackling the issue more effectively.
In this policy, we lay out 3 specific courses of action that I want to talk about this afternoon. We talk about temporary stopping places. These are places where we will negotiate in advance with local communities, seek planning permission and set up where members of the Gypsy, Roma and Traveller community can effectively book their spaces. So rather than arriving in the city and setting up an unauthorised encampment, they can arrive in the city and go direct to a site where they know that they will be able to set up their pitches. They will have a licence for up to 6 weeks, and they will pay a weekly licence fee for the use of the site. The site will provide toilet facilities, water and waste collection, and there will be a contract in terms of how we expect people to behave on the site. The water and toilet facilities do not need to be permanent installations, which opens up a range of sites that aren't open for transit, but could be suitable here. So that will enable people to manage their movement as part of their culture without impinging in a way that isn't planned and isn't known to local communities through unauthorised encampments. When we have temporary stopping places in place, we with the police will be able to use existing powers to move people from sites where they set up an unauthorised encampment, and they can either move to a temporary stopping place as directed, or they can leave the city. But we will have that immediate right, and that will speed up substantially any dealing with unauthorised encampments. The Gypsy, Roma and Traveller community are used to dealing with temporary stopping places in other places, and so this won't be something that culturally they are not aware of. We have acknowledged that sometimes an unauthorised encampment arrives somewhere where it is causing no problem and might only be in space for a short period of time. We are allowing, under this policy, officers to negotiate for one of those unauthorised encampments to become effectively a tolerated trespass for the period of up to 14 days. We make very clear in our policy where this will not be acceptable. That includes playing pitches, parks, school grounds, car parks, HMPE, sites of scientific interest, places of pollution, places where access is required by emergency services, or where emergency services can't access effectively the site where it is set up. So there will be very few places in the city where a negotiated site might arise, but there could be some, and we have allowed officers that leeway, but we think, as we said, that is going to be an exception, not a norm. We have also said that if somewhere is ever subject to 3 or more unauthorised encampments within a rolling 18-month period, that we will take out public spaces protection order on those places. Now, that means that we will have to consult communities and others, and it will be subject to that community saying that that is an appropriate course of action. That will mean that for some members of our community who frequently experience unauthorised encampments, that we have something that we can offer them that mean we can move people very quickly once we have temporary sites, but also if they stay there when we don't, fixed penalty notices will be able to be applied. And the nature of those, up to £100 a day, is subject to some flexibility. So we will negotiate on those places where we are suggesting there should be PSPOs with local communities, not only on the conditions of the protection orders, but also on appropriate ways we handle fixed penalty notices, because there are a number of different options, so that local residents have a say in how those local spaces are protected and the consequences of people breaking those protections.
Back now to Charlotte Willis to learn more about Tony Ray and Mark Walker's Great Brexit Railway Adventure.
And when are you guys actually leaving then?
Leaving on the 1st of March. There are 31 days on the rail card, and hopefully we're arriving back in Plymouth on the 31st at about 8 o'clock in the evening on Brittany ferries.
The irony is, however, I live in Ivybridge. Mark lives just outside Ivybridge. Ivybridge has a railway station, but because not all the trains stop there, we've got to go by road to Totnes to get our first journey.
Or a long walk home when we finish in Plymouth.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. So I'm going to ask you both individually, if you don't mind answering it individually. Tony, I'll start with you. What did you think about Brexit when it came up?
Mixed feelings, really, but I didn't think the referendum was a good idea. I'm sorry we had it, and I think overall it's bad news. Whatever happens, in my opinion, we will be in a worse place than we started before the referendum.
Mark, same question, really. What did you think about the Brexit before?
Going back to 74, I voted to join the Common Market. And the Common Market was what I thought we were in. I was surprised by the result, probably a bit angry by the result that we fought so hard to become part of Europe, and to play a leading role in Europe, and to have it all thrown away, really. Hopefully, at the end, both Europe and ourselves will be better off.
Okay, so a little bit of a difference of opinion between you two, obviously, there.
Yeah, there will be. There'll be some discussion en route as well.
That's what I was about to say, actually.
We will be in each other's company for quite a while. And we did actually, I'll tell the listeners this, I wasn't going to mention it, but we came by car tonight and I was directing. Mark was driving, I was the navigator, and I managed to get us to the wrong place. And as we backtracked in horrendous traffic jam, he kind of just nudged me and said, there'll be a lot of this, won't there?
Have you got maps?
Probably will. We've got rail maps and we've got iPhones. What Mark didn't tell you when he was talking about Brexit, and it affects both our families, he's got one of his children, his daughter, she lives and works in France, and I've got a Spanish daughter-in-law. So as well as the, kind of like the national and international political ramifications of Brexit, it's going to impact on each of our families. And in that respect, we got very similar thoughts.
Staff at the Central Library gave up their time on Christmas Day to provide some Christmas cheer to a disadvantaged section of the community, as Deputy Lord Mayor Chris Maven explained to fellow councillors at their recent meeting.
Over 80 people of all ages visited the Central Library when it opened its doors on Christmas Day. Library staff gave up their time for 3 hours in the afternoon to bring some festive cheer to anyone who was on their own and wanted some company. Visitors received gifts and enjoyed refreshments donated by individuals and organisations from across the city. A quiz and Christmas film kept everyone entertained, and library computers were available for anyone who wanted to get in touch with family or friends. Those who attended were grateful to have the company and somewhere to go, and I think we extend all of our thanks to the library staff for providing that service.
A Starbucks coffee shop with a drive-through facility has been proposed for the small roadside car park at the old B&Q site at Coy Pool. Council Officer Oliver Gibbons explained to members of the Planning Committee exactly what was being proposed.
The proposal is for vehicles to enter from into the site, and once you get in, you turn into the site, where if you want to use the facilities for the sit-in facility, you can park your vehicle there and enter to the front of the building. Or if you were going to use the drive-through facility, you drive in and then park and drive around the back of the building and loop around. In terms of the design, it's a single-storey building that's been designed to front on to the Coy Pool Retail Park. So it's been designed so that there's a large entrance that's glazed and it maximises the glazing for people that use the facility.
The Plympton St Mary Neighbourhood Forum is far from keen on the idea of yet another coffee shop in the area, and especially on the proposed site, as their chairman Rose Hamley explained to members of the Planning Committee.
The main objection is the potential increase in traffic. Although there is a separate access off the B3416, the only egress is via Coy Pool Road. This road is already overloaded with traffic using facilities already established in the area. Any additional traffic will impact on the B3416 and result in further build-up of traffic on this very busy main road. The traffic waiting to go into the small retail park off Coy Pool Road will also carry those wishing to enter the proposed Starbucks drive-through, even if they want to use the alternative entrance. They will need to use this access by using the near side lane off Marshmallows roundabout. There is surely not enough length of carriageway to allow changing of lanes close to the alternative entrance. Increase in traffic will impact on the strategic housing site which is to be developed at Coy Pool. And we are also concerned that this facility is much closer to the Woodford residential area than those in the other vicinity, and the disturbance that this may cause residents. There is a high density of this type of facility in the immediate vicinity, and the Forum are concerned what impact another such facility will have on those already established in Ridgeway. The area around Coy Pool and Longridge is already blighted by the amount of rubbish associated with other drive-through facilities in the area, and another one will impact on this.
Ultimately, the proposal was approved by 7 votes to 6. A charity concert at Harewood House last December was ruined when no one from Plymouth City Council attended to open the building up to let concert-goers in. As a result, around 150 people were left outside in the pouring rain on a cold December night until the concert was eventually abandoned. A question about the incident was raised at the Cabinet meeting of Plymouth City Council recently.
Now, questions from the public. We actually have a question from a member of the public, which I'm now going to read out to you. As you know, this is in order to be in order. The question must be submitted at least 5 clear working days before the date of the meeting and be no longer than 50 words. Why has the inquiry outcome into the failure to open Harewood House for booking on the 1st of December not been publicly revealed? Why did no one come to open the building or answer out-of-hours contact lines? And what are the specifics of the action plan to prevent a repetition? Councillor Mark Lowry was kind enough to answer this. Do you want to read out or shall I do it? Okay. So an event was booked by Sandy's Songbirds for the 1st of December 2018 at 7:30 at Harewood House. Facilities management had made arrangements for the site to be open and ready for the event organiser, and this was being covered by agency staff. That's people who don't work for the council directly but are temporary staff. And the member of staff did not attend. The organisers on site contacted the council by using the contact number supplied on the door and spoke to the out-of-hours service. This officer was not able to make contact with the key holder, and therefore the organiser cancelled the event. Now, as soon as this was brought to our attention, the organiser was contacted both to apologise and to offer some solutions to reschedule if Sandy's Songbirds wanted to. Alternative dates were offered and the rescheduled event went ahead. Now, this matter was investigated and it was clarified that the temporary member of staff allocated to the work did not attend. The agency have confirmed that this was a misunderstanding during the work allocation process and could not have been preempted. All staff, including agency staff attending sites, will be made aware of the specific duties required and relevant information about the location that they are working. Usually any agency staff will be allocated work for sites that they have previously worked to enable consistency of service delivery. Now, the customer did make contact with PCC's out-of-hours service, whose contact details were available on the door at Harewood House, as we said. This service tried to contact a council officer, however, they were attending an alternative event and were not aware of the call. Our key holders did have access to the site, but without authorisation were not able to attend to open the site. For health and safety reasons, without an appropriate member of staff on site for the duration of the event, it would not have been able to be run. All matters have been investigated, and this situation has highlighted areas where improvements are needed. Management of the service are currently reviewing and implementing new procedures to ensure that this does not happen again and improvements are made. The event was rebooked and held in January at no charge. An apology has been made and published on the BBC Devon website. In addition, a £200 payment has been paid to the organisers to cover the fee and as a goodwill gesture for the disruption to their event. Okay? So that was quite an expensive mistake somebody made there, and I'm glad that we've apologised, and I'll apologise today, and to say that we will make sure that that doesn't happen again. Okay, so I will move on now. Thank you.
And to round off this month, we hear a bit more about the upcoming EU travels of Tony Ray and Mark Walker.
You're looking to see what the other Europeans think about the Brits on the eve of Brexit. Do you think it's important what they think? Tony first.
I think it's very interesting. Whether it's important or not, I wouldn't really like to say. I think hopefully we'll meet some people who are energised by the whole thing and who think it's very important, and we're probably going to meet a lot of people who either don't know what's happening here or don't really care very much, and if Britain wants to go and do its own thing, that's going to be okay by them. But for me, it's just the interest. If we can engage some people and have a chat about it, and in a friendly way, and perhaps over a beer or something, it'd be really interesting to see what they think of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Okay. Same question to you, Mark?
Very similar answer. I think Brexit's certainly shown that the press and the media can lead our thoughts and to meet individuals who are all going to be different. It's just going to be interesting to see outside of the media what people actually think. Most people I don't think will care too much, but it's going to affect everybody in Europe, I think.
Now, you've got the journey planned, I hear.
It is a plan. It's possibly the only thing that in this scenario that is planned.
We've got our plan.
And boy, have we hit some hurdles. There's integrated European railway system. There isn't. There are lots of places. We tried to book a sleeper train from a place called Hendaye, which is on the French bottom of the Bay of Biscay, to Lisbon. It's 13 hours overnight. Get on the train, go to sleep, wake up in Lisbon. Absolutely fantastic. It's impossible to book it.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not sure who's running that business. But there is an alternative which involves 34 hours of train journeys through large parts of Spain and most of Portugal, I think.
Now, you were going to be leaving at Totnes railway station to head for Holyhead in Dublin. Why did you choose that start, and is that still on? Right,
I'll start. Mark's the technical expert when it comes to the planning, but I'll just begin, and he can chip in if I get it wrong. Ireland, obviously, if you think of a map of Europe, Ireland is very much on the edge, so it's either got to be the first port of call or possibly the last. We decided to go to Ireland first. Dublin was attractive. It's the capital, obviously. I've got a colleague who I used to work with at University of Plymouth who now she teaches in a university in Dublin. So we contacted Orla Kelly, and we were going to have a beer with Orla and her English husband, and we thought that'd be a good a good way of chatting to an Irish woman, an English man who lives in Ireland about Brexit. However, the train timetables didn't quite work out, and it made Dublin just about possible but very difficult. So the latest plan is we'll get the same train from Totnes on the 1st of March, but instead of heading up through Wales to the Holyhead to Dublin route, we're now heading for Fishguard and going to Rosslare. I'm looking at Mark and he's nodding, so I've got that bit right.
Right, okay. Now, you obviously, you're going to say, like you said, you're going to start in Ireland first, but which country will you be arriving in then over the other side first?
We're going by Stena Line. Are we allowed to say Stena Line on?
We've said it. It's too late.
There are other ferry companies.
Yeah.
But we take the Fishguard to Rosslare. Hopefully we've got 35 minutes when we get to Fishguard to get off of the train, if the train is on time, and get across to the ferry. Luckily, they're in the same place. This is after we've got to negotiate 3 rail companies on the same ticket through the English and Welsh railways. And when we get to Rosslare, we've got an overnight and a lunchtime, and then we catch the 4 o'clock Stena Line boat to Cherbourg, which should be on the 2nd of March across some fairly flat seas.
Hopefully.
And then we get to Cherbourg about 10 o'clock on Sunday morning.
And then we're taking train from Cherbourg to Paris, then picking up an express train across Paris on the metro, then an express train from Paris to Bordeaux, and we're then, if everything goes according to plan, and this is only the Sunday, we're spending the Sunday night with 2 lovely people who used to live in Ivybridge, John and Katrine Edison. Katrine is French. She used to teach French at Ivybridge Community College. Taught some of my kids, probably taught 1 or 2 of yours. And they emigrated to France when they retired. So we've been invited to their house near Bordeaux for an overnight. Let's hope everything works out well, because that's another good opportunity to have a good chat. I know John, who is English, he's got some fears really about his status of remaining in France when we Brexit. So that'll get us off to a good start, I think.
And alas, that's it for this month. Backing music has been provided by audionautics.com. Thanks for listening, and until the next time, bye for now.
The Plympton Podcast.